Hi, I'm Carolyn.
I'm Anna.
And we're two sisters who love handcrafting and figuring things out.
It is Wednesday. We don't usually film on Wednesday, but it is Wednesday, April 17th, and this is our 48th episode.
I know.
We'd like to welcome you.
Yeah, welcome. You're getting us hot off a busy day at school, so you never know quite what's going to happen.
Right.
Okay, so in this episode, we're going to do some of our normal things. We're going to have a little chit-chat. We're going to toast. We're going to talk about what we're wearing. We have finishes. We have whips. We have shared supplies. We have thumbs up. I think pretty much our normal stuff. Mm-hmm. I think what we're going to start is we're filming a little bit late because we spent the last 4 days of our spring break, Thursday to Sunday, in the Phoenix, Arizona area, doing lots of fun things, but also visiting the attic.
Yes.
So if you followed us on stories, we were putting a few things up there along the way.
Right. So we want to thank you for so many of you gave us well wishes and recommendations of things to do, many of which we did do, and saved a few for next trip because we're hoping there's a next trip too. Yeah. Our trip was fabulous. We kept saying it's exceeding expectations.
And we had high expectations, and it kept like everything, even from the ease of like the flight. We had a fun rental car. Our hotel room had a couch and really good light. Like
it was
everything.
It was good.
Everything. We'll kind of be talking about the attic a little bit in and out of this video, but maybe just to highlight a couple of things we did, because we really highly recommend if you are lucky enough to also be in the area, maybe you'd like to do them too. And some of these were recommendations that we got from the commenters. First thing is we took a tour of Taliesin West, which was Frank Lloyd Wright's place. It's in Scottsdale, so it was like a 20-minute drive for us, 25-minute drive.
Like
we were
that.
staying in Tempe. Unbelievably inspiring and beautiful. So highly recommend that.
Yes, and we also went to Papago or Papago.
Papago.
I never heard anyone say it. Park. In fact, we went there 3 times. One time we went there twice because we took a little hike in the morning before we went to the attic, and then we were like, let's go somewhere to watch the sunset. So we went back to the same place where we had hiked, where there's some buttes, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was a beautiful sunset, and we saw several couples getting their engagement pictures. Just funny. It must be like the perfect light, that desert light.
Right, and we saw a proposal at our third trip to the park, where we went to the Desert Botanical Garden. Is that what it's called?
A desert. Yeah, a couple people I think had recommended that. Unbelievable if you are at all near that. And we were also lucky; things were still in bloom, and many of the cacti were starting to bloom. So we learned about the state tree, the Palo Verde, the green tree, and then the Palo Blanc, which was
Blanco.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we noticed. I had never been to Arizona, and so just seeing cacti all over the place, and then anything that was sort of providing shade had like teeny tiny leaves. Like everything looked different, and we were trying to figure out why that plant had that adaptation because of the dry, hot weather. Yeah, it was fun.
So fantastic. So it was we had so many great little things to do in addition to going to the attic, and we'll talk about that as we go. I'm going to pause this for 1 second because my camera looks a little bit weird, so I just want to make sure we're videoing properly before everything is fine.
There was a line, I think it was sort of like a level. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. I do want to say, about the attic that several people said when you walk in, just look at the walls first. Look at all the models first, which was exactly what we did. And it is one of those things where you almost like want to stop talking because there's so much for the eye.
And we timed things. We actually went both Friday and Saturday, but we went Friday in the afternoon from like 1 to 4. And that was really just looking, a few other, and we'll talk about a few other things. And then we went Saturday for a really big chunk of time and did more shopping and sort of making our decisions. So.
We sort of set up at a table
and somebody had recommended, was it the IGA? There's a little restaurant.
IF.
It's right next door to the attic. Okay. Fantastic. We had a chicken salad, so that's also a great food recommendation. So
yeah, that worked out great.
Okay, so anything?
Your spring for 12 by 12.
Yeah, so another thing, the weekend, so it would have been a week and a half ago on April 6th was Saturday. I did my own spring 12 by 12. I enjoyed the New Year's Eve 12 by 12 so much. I did my own spring one where I don't do 12 starts. I just pick 12 things that I want to do throughout the day. And I started at 8 a.m. and ended at like 11 p.m. So I'm just going to, I was posting on Instagram, but I'm just going to put a quick little montage here of what my 12 things are and just a photo of each. So here it is.
You've talked about it a lot. I think you really, we're going to do a summer 12 by 12 in July sometime, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed that so much. We will do one in July, and we'll let people know. So in case you want to join us or do something around that same time, it might be fun. Because I think a couple of people along the way were like, oh, I'll join you next time. Oh, that was totally tough. All right, let's toast, and then we'll get going.
You got to pop the top.
You got to pop.
So this was one of the, I'd had Topo Chico in a bottle without flavor, but we found this at the grocery store down in Arizona, lime with mint, and sure enough, it's sitting at our Safeway too. I just never noticed it before.
Isn't that funny how like you never notice and then have it? So let's pop our tops. Okay, so our toast is we want to toast the attic. And not just the beauty of the store, but also the beauty and the wonderful, warm welcome and relationships we had just from visiting just 2 people going in. And from Jean, we were so lucky to meet Jean. We got to meet Carolyn, but all across the board, all the women that work there, other shoppers were incredibly friendly and so inspiring. Vendors were coming in. It was just incredible person after incredible person. And we sort of got that feeling of how people go, you go to a retreat and it's the people. So Jean, Carolyn, and the world you've built, we're toasting you. Thank you.
It was great to be a part of it for a few days.
Yes. That's so good.
So good.
All right, Anna, what are you wearing? Coco. Hold on, I'm going to pause it.
I'm wearing a t-shirt from Macy's. Carolyn, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing the Leon sweater, and this is a all-time layering sweater for me. I knitted in the summer of 2019. At the time, I was working once a month at a knitting shop, and we all made this sweater at the same time. This is Taki yarns. It's called Skinny Jeans. It's like a tape yarn. I put it in the washer. I put it in the dryer for a little bit and then hang it dry.
It does have a denim look, doesn't it?
It's I love it. It's fantastic, and it's designed by Julie Weisenberger, and her design company is Coco Knits. And she always has fantastic eyes for detail and the shaping of garments. So all of her garments look very easy, but there's actually a lot of shaping to make a simple shape also fit your body. So I just pulled this out. It's definitely like a spring, sort of like a March to October sweater for me. And I just pulled it out a couple of weeks ago. And it's already gotten a lot of wear.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like I haven't seen that in a while. And instead of our regular catwalk today, we will insert a video, which we popped on Instagram already, of us dancing out of the attic with our bags. The first day we were there, we started a bag and they put our name on it, and they just left it at the register so that when we arrived on Saturday morning, we were like, may I have my bag, please?
And it was very cute. One of the women at the shop watched us and she goes, are you going to do a catwalk? And we're like, sure. And so she filmed our catwalk for us. So
here that is if you haven't seen it.
Finished objects. All right, I have a slew of finished objects and finishes, and I think it was also in anticipation of going to, it was a combination of the spring 12 by 12. I kind of pulled a lot of things out and I'm like, oh, I'm so close to finishing this. I'm so close to finishing this. And then also knowing I was going to the attic and I was going to get some new projects. I'm like, it'd be great just to sort of bring closure to some. So my first finish is North Pole. It's designed by Barrick. And here is my finish.
And there it is.
Hope our light is still good. It's about 5:30, 5:45 right now. This is stitched on 36 count vintage maple sugar by Lakeside Linens. That's our neighbor's dog barking. And called for NPI silks. And thank you Hillside Rookery and Olivia B for supplying the silk packs. We love those. And it's stitched 1/2, and the stitch count, it's 109 wide by 212 high. So hashtag Kathy Barrick Fan Club, hashtag North Pole KB. And I plan to finish, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to frame it myself, but I want to frame it in a frame that will stand, self-standing, and I think I'm going to put it by the fireplace at Christmas time. I think sort of standing and having our Santa stand there. My main modification is instead of having the words North Pole under there on that iceberg he's standing on, it's kind of hard to see, just a little bit of white. I put some white snowflakes there. And Anna, at first I was a little concerned for Santa that he's like on an iceberg and it's not that big and he was going to maybe float away.
I hadn't thought of Santa.
But then I'm like, well, Santa is surrounded by flying reindeers. He's not going to have a problem.
That's true.
They can just pick it up.
They'll come to his aid.
And take him. Such a fun project. Loved it from start to finish. Makes me happy.
Congratulations finishing. It's a big project, and you're done. I'm going to be pulling mine out in October thinking, can I finish it before Christmas?
I'm getting a little bit better at the straight stitches. Space.
What do you mean better? Like what?
Oh, I feel like the first time I did it, I'm like, what am I doing here?
Oh, okay.
I'm getting more comfortable.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so that was finished
Just
number
leave
one.
him out. We can gaze at him a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, Anna, you.
All right, I have a finish, and I did the basket that's part of this chart, which is called Sarah's Basket. And this chart is lifted out of the larger sampler, the Sarah Casey Unwin Sampler 1848. It's by Chessie and me. So I used the called for colors, except for Shabby Sheep was not showing up on my fabric very well. So I found something in our stash called Khaki Mocha that's really, really similar, just a teeny bit brighter. So I did some of the white in the basket with each of those colors. And I stitched this on 37 count Pamplemousse by Tabby Cat and 1/2. And here's how it's looking. I forgot my board.
Okay, you want to use mine?
Well, let's see. Maybe I don't need it.
Anna, that looks so good.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I think the colors are pretty. Now, you might notice a triangle right there. I had an interesting thing happen as I was stitching this. As I was stitching the basket, I was stitching, there's white and red, like an orangey.
Can I show the back? Because I think you can see the...
Diagonally. And I was like, oh, I think this is kind of warping a little bit. I'm going to go to the opposite corner and sort of stitch the opposite way. Maybe that will offset. But actually what it really did was make kind of a bubble, which is was a good learning thing. It's funny because I've just been reading at school about how important feedback is to help us grow and what feedback is and what it isn't. And this very famous article by someone named Grant Wiggins defines feedback as information about how we're doing in our efforts to reach a goal. So I feel like this is information for me about how to stitch a big basket.
Yeah.
And so feedback is really just information. I feel like sometimes cross stitchers say, why do we point out things that didn't go right? For me, when I talk about this kind of thing, I'm pointing these out in sort of a learning way, not that I'm dissatisfied.
Right.
Not that I think it's a negative. I mean, I actually was a little frustrated when I'm like, oh shoot, this is like a big bubble. But I really learned something from it.
Right.
And so that's why I want to talk about it. It's not because I feel like everything needs to be perfect. It's just that I thought it was a very interesting event that happened.
And I think as a crafts person, we have to do that. It's always like, what did I like? What would I do again? Mm-hmm. And what would I change? What did I learn from this?
So that is definitely the kind of learner I am.
Yeah. It's interesting, Anna, I bet were you going to finish this as a pillow or as a tile?
I'm going to do it as a pillow. Mm-hmm. I thought if I did the whole sampler, I was considering doing a tile, but I just did the basket.
That flower, it's funny. I love the fact that some of the petals are ghosted.
I
feel like it so adds to the design.
And I know it's always hard to tell on video. In person, I like the look of it a lot.
What's this linen?
That's the
Did you already say? Oh, that's right.
The grapefruit.
Feels beautiful.
Yeah, it's Happy Cat.
I tried to close our windows just to see our neighbor's dog is yapping away. Hopefully it's not as loud.
So let me get my other. This was my first basket.
Oh yeah.
And this is so. And I think I'm going to do something with strawberries for the third basket. I'm still deciding. I bought a few charts at the attic actually that are samplers that have a basket in them that I thought, might be good.
Also, I watched Olivia B's, she does these unboxing videos for her shop, Wholeside Rookery. I cannot get enough of those. And she did one, it's her most recent one, but I feel like there was a chart in there that was like a strawberry basket. It might have been more of the chart, so if you're looking more for pieces off of the sampler.
Not necessarily.
You know, this makes me so happy looking at this. It's so bright and happy. And your fabric, I love it.
Thanks.
Can't wait to see these fully finished.
Yeah. All right.
My next finish was my birthday start. My birthday's in November. And it is Turkey Trot. And it comes out of this book, Notforgotten Farms. And I'm just going to show you the pattern because mine's drastically different as far as the colorway. So I just wanted to show you the original. More prim colors. And what I wanted to do is the birthday before I had done the Reverend Gordon Squash Bottom as my birthday start. So what I did is I took I don't have it right with me, but the palette of threads I used for that one and adapted this pattern using the same palette. And I'm going to kind of hang them as companion pieces. So here's my version of Turkey Trot. Couple of changes. I did my initials, of course, instead of hers. I added the date. In the original one, there's some acorns here between the flowers, but instead I wanted to just put the date. I think I'm going to start doing that more for my birthday start. So even though this is for my 2023 birthday, I finish it in 2024. And it was just so fun. That house, I love the filming.
Well, I love the effect.
Yeah. It's just really great.
variation.
It's funny, my eye sees this as sort of an empty space and I keep wanting to fill it, but on the pattern it's an empty space and I have to get used to, like, sometimes that empty space is a nice little breather and it kind of gives space for the running turkey. He's going to just keep running to get over there. And it was kind of fun trying to chart because she doesn't give an alphabet. Well, I didn't even look in the book. Maybe she did. I didn't see an alphabet, so just trying to make my letters that match the style of her letters.
It's so fun that you get to stitch a Q.
I know. My middle name is Quill, and so I put CQ instead of my first and middle. So Turkey Trot. Highly recommend. I think about a flurry of people were stitching this last fall. It was really fun. So this one I'm gonna frame it, I think maybe even using the same frame I used for the Reverend and then kind of hang them next to each other.
And have you listed your conversion anywhere? No. You don't even know.
For this, yeah. I mean, it's essentially the Reverend's pattern, but even for the Reverend, I put in I think I put someplace the overdyes I use instead of the DMCs, But this one, there was no, I just picked colors as I went, so it wouldn't even match the symbols on the
Sometimes
chart.
people ask, so
Yeah.
we won't have this one.
Yeah. I kind of encourage you, it's just fun sometimes taking a palette and you sort of start off and using this as inspiration, but then just kind of picking your colors as you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so turkey trot.
Can't get enough of my drink.
Okay, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my next finish was my second reindeer games. The reindeer games, let me just remind you of the pattern.
She has them all in one piece, and it's fun to see them stacking on top of each other.
It's these 3 designs by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. And I bought the full kit from Finally a Farm Girl, so even the finishing supplies came. And so here is, this was the first one I did, and then I finished the second one. I love that sweater on the reindeer. And then I just started the very last one. And this is on 40 count vintage country mocha, and it's the called for DMC and overdyes. Again, I got it as a kit.
I wonder if that's a common fabric to come in kits. It's come in 2 kits for you now.
Yeah. They're so happy though, aren't they?
They're cute.
And just all those white doodahs. I just carried my thread all over the back. I wasn't going to start and stop for each of those. Okay,
Was it this?
Oh, yeah.
The one you just did looks smaller to me, like a smaller circle, and I think it just is because you have less snow. So
yeah, and the reindeers come over, they go all the way to the sides on that one. Whereas this one, he's jauntily riding through. And this next one has some like French knots and a few things, so we'll see how that goes. It'll be fun.
All right,
but I really enjoyed this. Okay, so those are my 3 cross stitch finishes. And then I had one more finish. I finished a sweater for the oldest granddaughter, and it was part of my 12 by 12 was to sew the buttons on. And this is the one where I took her to pick buttons, and she liked the pink and the purple so much, she said, Gramsy, what if we do a pattern? So here's a picture of the finished sweater. And this may or may not be a picture of her wearing it if I can find a way to just kind of cover her face. But I love this picture because you can see her buttons are a little mixed, like, you know, when you offset your button by mistake, but it just
classic.
Is so cute. So I just wrote her like a little note on like an index card, and my son read it to her, and at the end she said, oh, that's a really nice note. or I really like that note, or something like that. So always fun. All right, finished objects. All right, let's do works in progress.
Great.
Oh.
Carolyn has stitched a little bit more than I have the last couple weeks.
I don't know, just I got in that finishing groove and it was really fun. All right, get this on my board. All right, my first whip I'm going to show you is for the hashtag Jacob Sleeper Sal.
I mean, this is really a finish already.
It is almost essentially a finish. And I'm doing GBH 1857 by Modern Folk Embroidery. And I'm going to show you it's on 36 count vintage sand dune by Lakeside. And I did my own Roxy Floss Co. conversion with our Roxy Floss Co. stash. And these are the ends up being, this was my final palette as I was adding things to it. The only color that is not Roxy Floss Co. is, I didn't have the right red, so I'm using Sun Dried from Weeks. And again, this is really not like a conversion I can share because I didn't follow the symbols. Like I just used colors wherever, so it would be hard to know. But here it is in my last part. I'm done for everything except I'm going to be personalizing that for our oldest sister. And I just have to chart that out. One of the things I love about this design is that, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of border that's slightly darker right here to match those dark birds. And I love how they're kind of just down there in the corner.
I like that too.
By themselves, that offset. And I feel like that balance of offset is going to balance this up here. So I like that design element. And I absolutely love this flower vase.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So I'll chart that and finish that over the next few days.
Oh my gosh, I keep feeling like I'm going to burp. I'm just going to apologize.
Go for it. And this will not be the last time I do this where I just, I'm using similar colors to this, and I kind of started with colors and I just say, what can I add? What can I add? What can I move? And that was
sounds fun.
So fun. And
did you end up taking anything out in this one?
Mm-mm. But there were times where I'm like, medium. Mm-hmm. But I think, as you said, it's like, it's just learning experience. The only way you can learn it is to do it. Right? You can only think about it for so much. And then it's just up to you. Like if it was something that I always felt like was really off, I would have taken it out. But everything, like to me, that ended up being this one. I wanted to pull this sort of dusty purple. And that one ended up being like, but then I'm like, oh, it kind of looks like an artichoke plant a little bit.
Yeah.
Good enough.
I think kind of offsets here.
That I wanted to pull some purple there. There's some purple in this, and I just wanted to balance it with that.
Right.
And then I also think about the original sampler makers, and just, they probably had whatever threads they had, and if they ran out, like for example, this color, there's a color that they use that's really similar to some of the others, and it's on one side of the sampler only. So you wonder, maybe that's all they had. They're like, okay, I'm going to pick another color that's. My phone just kind of froze up, but here we are. We're back. Okay, that's all I need to say about that.
All right.
Oh, I want to say one more thing. Thank you, Carmen of Cardamom Pins, for doing the salad. It's been really fun.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm done.
All right. The second thing I worked on in the last couple of weeks is arranging mushrooms by ink circles. Making this for my nephew. I'm stitching on 36 count dark cobblestone by Zweigart using the called for classic colorworks. And it is an 87 by 57 design. I think it's going to become a zip pouch. I like working on dark fabric.
Here, why don't you use the board?
I understand what people say. It's a little bit harder to see the holes, but I have such a big magnifier light. I think it doesn't really bother me at all. This is a symmetrical design, and I've just been working down here. This is what I ended up working on in the hotel room in Arizona in the evenings. Just felt kind of small and, not too dainty or precious or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to finish this, but I have so many other things in my head.
I just want to see how far.
I'm about halfway done.
Yeah.
It's fun. I think I said this in another video. Some of the mushrooms are just really, really neutral.
I like that Anna a lot.
Yeah, I do too. But then you get to a yellow one or something with a red cap and you're like, woohoo! That's how it feels.
I like those two little tiny red ones right there above the neutrals.
They're like 10 stitches each or something. Boop, boop.
All right, cool.
All right, and this is what Carolyn worked on.
This is what I had on my trip, and it was a new start. It's actually part of my 12 by 12 start. And I signed us up for the scattered seeds samplers, the berries. What's it called? It's berries.
Pin keep or something?
It's like berries and birds and berries. Oh. And this was the first installment. Again, it's not a secret or anything. And all the supplies come for that. And here's my progress.
We are both loving this. She would sort of drape it on the back of the couch when she finished in the evening, and you wake up and you're like, oh, that bird is looking good.
Yeah. And this is also stitched on 36 count vintage country mocha. That's the other thing about it. Is that a good thing for kits? Maybe you can get it reliably. Mm-hmm. And it's the call for DMCs. And I gotta tell you, this is something I'm really, really digging. Our threads
and a little bit more
came on this palette. And the palette has the symbols on it. I love this because you don't have to look at anything else. It's on the symbol. I love having all my colors here. So I'm going to try using palettes more. And even if, let's say I'm going to use like 2 skeins or I have a whole skein, I'm just going to take like a part of the skein and put it on the palette, right? You don't need the whole thing. And it just tucks in here and it's so easy to have it out. Now granted, there are 2, 4, 6, 7 colors. So it's a smaller palette, but I have loved this. It's the first time I've used a palette.
I made something like that when I was doing the Brenda's birthday sampler.
You did? Okay, and did you have your symbols on there and everything?
I did. Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Yeah. That's been really fun. Okay, And
I'll
that's
be
called
stitching that too.
The Sweetness of Spring Pin Keep. Yeah, it's nice because it's DMC. It's going to be really easy if you want to stitch it as well.
Right, and
when I'm finished.
We have some vintage country mocha.
We have vintage country mocha
in our supplies because we're really liking the way that dark brown is looking on the fabric.
And that was a great travel because there's some fill-in, some more details depending on what you had. All right, and then my last whips, I have a couple knitting whips.
You really have done a lot. Everything's so pretty.
We did have some spring break in there.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't.
I did a lot of knitting also on the plane. So this is the same cardigan that I made for the older granddaughter. This is for my younger local granddaughter here. And it's called the Anchors Jacket. And the designer is Petite Knit. And the yarn is Sueño by Hiku. Let me see if I have my label. And this is a really cool yarn because it's 80% wool and 20% bamboo.
Oh, I thought it was cotton.
Nope. Superwash and bamboo. Here's the name of the yarn. And sleeves are done. I have some ends to weave in. And I just need to do my button bands and sew on the buttons.
Every time you hold it up, I can just see it on the child.
I know. This child has pretty orange hair, so it's going to look really good on her. And sometimes it can take me like 6 months to sew the buttons on. So please, if I don't show this with buttons on in the next video, will you please give me a little bit of grief?
Oh, next video.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, literally, when you sit down to do buttons, it takes about a half an hour. But it's just that sitting down to do it. I picked these buttons, even though I do love the purple and pink.
When she gets a little older, she can pick her own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it'd be a disaster taking that child into the pick buttons. All right, and then the last whip is I've been participating in a mystery knit along, and I've now we've had 6 weeks of clues, and I'm current for that. So we started off, and it's called a patchwork mystery knit along. So you got this idea, we're making a shawl, but it's going to have some sort of patchworky feel. So we started with the triangles, and then can you hold that edge? This
wow, it looks
we're starting
really
to
different
do
now.
Like a log cabin.
Yes.
You know, the logs of the log cabin. So I did the dark, the lightest, this vibrant green, and then the light green. So that was the order that those got added in. So for this next week, I'm guessing maybe we'll do something along here. You know, I don't know, or maybe we'll add some more over here. But it's been a fun mystery along the way, and it's fun each week. The clues aren't so big that you can't get it done. So I've really kept up.
I mean, is it one evening, 2 evenings?
It's typically maybe two short sittings or one long sitting. And there's certain TV shows I like to knit instead of, like, my husband and I are so all into Top Chef. We cannot get enough Top Chef. And there's a new season on right now, Wisconsin. Are you watching? It's really good. And so with that, I'll typically knit when we're watching that. And that's a good knitting time.
So depends on what's going on around you, whether you knit or stitch.
Yeah. Okay. Those are our whips.
Plans.
Plans.
I really don't know what I'm going to turn to.
Yeah.
I really like all the things I've been working on recently.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start something that I got at the attic, and this is my best guess.
All right, so we're going to start sort of also revealing some shared supplies.
I sort of surprised myself back in what I call a round and round. I saw this pattern and I just fell in love with it. It is from 1985. Wow. I think I'm really into pink right now. I was attracted to a lot of patterns that had pink in them. So Carolyn, not Sister Carolyn, Carolyn from the attic. I was really hoping for an experience to talk silk with her, but I felt a little shy, honestly. This went on Friday, and I'm like, because I just didn't know what's customary. So I just asked her, do you have time to help me pick silks for this? So I picked 56 count, the wrong fabric, Cedar River Maple Bar as the ground. And then we pulled the DMCs and deepened a lot of the colors. So this is what the silks look like. And these are Swatsurfine, and these are 103s because there's quite a bit of, satin stitch in here, which I've never tried. And Carolyn recommended that I try a thicker yarn for the satin stitch and the swatherine for the cross stitch part. So this is the first thing I plucked off of a shelf, I think. This is one of the things I just can't get out of my mind. So I think I might start this soon. Your plans, Carolyn?
Okay, I'm gonna totally when we show some of our attic shared supplies, I'm gonna totally start one of those things sooner than later. I think other than that, I want to really finish GBH 18. I'm so close to finishing that, and then I think I'm just gonna keep working on the scattered. What is that called? The Sweetness of Spring. This one, I'll probably just keep working on that one.
Yeah, you'll finish that, I think.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and then just who knows from that wherever we go.
Okay.
All right, should we do some shared supplies?
Sure.
All right. We had a good time at the attic, but it was great too because I hadn't bought that much this year, and I went in kind of having an idea of what I wanted to buy, and I think
I had a full-on list on my phone, which I've been adding to and thinking about for several months. And I did a lot of those things. Or if I didn't do them, like I wanted to look for another patriotic Christmas thing for my son-in-law, but I didn't really see anything. So some of the things I didn't get were just because I just didn't quite see something on the list.
Yeah. I think one thing that surprised me, I ended up coming home with more patterns than I thought I would buy. And I'm not going to show you all the patterns. I'm going to when I show you those. I tended to go towards sort of two themes, and I'll show you a couple of the themes.
Yeah, good.
And almost every pattern I bought, except for this first one I'm going to show you, they had the sample there, and so that really influenced me. And so I also was sure to take a picture of the sample, so I had that as a frame of reference for each of those.
I've heard people say that about the Attic and several other stores about looking at having all the samples and models and how they look different than the photo and the whole thing. It is so true.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we start talking about our shirts?
Why don't you talk about your
I will.
samples.
The first thing I want to talk about is, okay, we got all this beautiful stuff. We were like so happy. We put it in our suitcase, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, we're checking our luggage. Like, I don't care about my clothes. And then when I got home, I had inside my bag, notice of bag inspection. And I'm cracking up where they like, oh, we just got to see what cross-stitch stuff she got. And I was like, what was in my bag that made them want to go in and look? But luckily it all was there. And when we arrived at the attic, the most generous surprise was there for me is a very kind and generous person had called the attic and left a gift certificate for me. So it was such a joyful gift because it was unexpected, but then I sort of was thinking like, okay, how can I really spend this in a way that will be really memorable and something that's special? So what I ended up doing is picking a chart that I knew I wanted to stitch, and it's called Emmeline Hotchkiss 1846, a Canadian antique sampler, and it's by Cross Stitch Antiques, Kathleen Littleton. So there's the chart. This is the one that I did not see a sample. And then I picked a really neat linen to stitch it on, and this is a new linen dyer. It's Crescent's Crown. And the dyer, we actually got to meet her on Saturday. She was bringing more supply, and her name is Sharon, and she was the original owner of Crescent Colorworks that was then sold to Classic Colorworks, and now she is starting a business dyeing linen. And so I bought this colorway. It's called Madeline, and it's this really beautiful color.
I got that too.
And as a nod to the attic, I typically stitch on 36. I'm like, I'm gonna go 40. So all the linen I bought on this trip was 40, just step it up. And then it's one of the silk options is the 103s. So I got the 103s. They didn't have them all, and I actually tweaked a few of the colors, but for the most part, that's the palette for that. So it just felt really special. This is the one I want to start, and it's something I really wanted to stitch, and I felt like it was really fun having the linen that we got to meet the dyer for that. And
I also got that pattern. I've been sort of joking of like, see what's left on her rolls of 103s.
Yeah, because I'll probably have enough. And then I also, for the gift certificate, I wanted to pick one special thing that I'll have to remember the person that gave this to me and that special generosity. And it's a little sewing roll. And I have put my scissors in there.
I think this is probably what got your bag inspected.
I know, probably. And it came with those pins. I put my needles in there. I also treated myself to a corner gauge from the attic. And last night when I was stitching, I just opened it up and I had it on the arm of my chair, and I could put I have a little container for my orts. I just had it sitting on there. So this will just be a special piece that I'll use all the time and remember that generosity. So thank you.
It was one of the first things that happened on our trip, this surprise for Carolyn, and it just touched both of us so much. And we had many more things follow that, of just things that were just so special, so generous, so so full of care. It was just, it was, I'm not going to forget this trip.
No.
It was really an amazing trip.
It was really an amazing trip. Yeah, and it was really the people and the kindness and the care, and it was incredible. It was incredible. Okay.
And talking about cross stitch in a detailed way, like just the fact of meeting Sharon and seeing that linen and seeing that she was that the Classic Colorworks used to be called Crescent Colorworks. I feel like we're sort of filling in all these layers of history, and we're learning about all of this.
Yeah, and it was really fun because Sharon is a good friend of Mary Darling, and Mary Darling had been texting us and saying, "Oh, you got to meet her. She's going on Saturday." And I guess she had texted Sharon and said, "You got to meet them. They're going to be there." So it was really fun because then we were sure to connect, and that was really great. So just those sort of connections within our community are fantastic. Okay, so should we just do a little popcorning then?
Yeah. So I have enough Cedar River in 56 count to do this. This was one of the models that just struck me. I mean, I would have never predicted this. So I got some Swasserfine in a black. It's not the darkest black, but one lighter shade, which Carolyn recommended. So that's another thing.
Okay, so you're going to
56, here I come.
Yeah. Another thing that really struck both of us is the stoneware pin pillows, and they have a series of 3. They just had the 3rd in stock, so that's what I got. This is Priscilla's Pocket. So, and I think I'm going to order the other ones. And then we were just asking them, like, what are some sort of special fibers? And one thing they were talking about were dinky dyes. So I picked 2 blue dinky dyes to stitch those with. So it was kind of fun having some materials that we can't get at Needle in a Haystack. So that was one of them.
These patterns have caught my eye since I started cross stitching. And then when you see the little tiny pillows there at the attic.
And I think they had like all 18 of them. It was really striking in the single color. So that was one thing I got. Okay.
Botanical. And like the dinky dye, I really wanted to try gum nut silks. So I picked this red to stitch Ursula's sampler, which is one of the exclusive attic patterns which Jean showed us, and she has the original sampler there. It's on a really the stitches are large, so it's on a small count. I never can remember how to describe it.
So it's a really big open canvas that it's stitched on, and they have it sort of displayed, kind of folded a little bit in a glass box, so you can so then you can see it, and then you can see the reproduction of that.
But when we met Sarah of Sarah's Stitchy Spot, was it last summer? Yeah. She was working on this, and oh my gosh, when I saw hers in person, that went right on my note. That whenever I go to the attic, I'd like to get this pattern.
Yeah, I got it as well. And I just got, Jean said it's perfect for Belle Soie Tulip. And same thing, I haven't stitched with Belle Soie, so I got the Belle Soie Tulip to stitch mine.
That color is incredible.
It's really rich.
Do you have your other crescent crown?
I do.
Because I got Kappa Mocha in addition to Madeline.
And that's almost like, it's like a really pretty, it almost reads a little... Purple's not the right word, but when a brown leads to purple.
Now I'm thinking, how does that compare to when I'm doing the... Oh yeah, you can see.
You can see this is so much more green. And then it has purple. And then I got this beautiful color. It's called Cream Puff. Which is also... Oh gosh, that's...
The linens are... The colors are absolutely beautiful and a little bit different than what I've seen before.
Yes.
So like, how do you do that, linen dyers? How do you come up with these new colors?
So it was fun to see that. And I'm going to use this cream puff. The second project that I kind of kit up in full silks is the Checkerboard Stag Sampler by Samplers Remembered. Look at that, the checkerboard stag. And these flowers on the side, they're all done in satin stitch. So that's going to be a big new thing for me, and I'm really excited for that. So I'm going to be stitching that on the cream puff, and I got the gum nuts for that, so I can also try the gum nuts. So it's kind of fun as I was kitting up. It was fun to pick things from the attic that it's harder to get, and their gum nuts wall, unbelievable.
More colors than I was anticipating.
Yeah, so it was really fun to go through and get the colors.
So I can't wait. I keep saying to Carolyn, I can't wait for her to do that.
I probably will start this one sooner than later as well. So those were the ones that I kitted up.
As Carolyn said, we each sort of had some themes of things that we were attracted to. And I've already mentioned one of them were samplers that had baskets in them. This is from Samplers Revisited. Willis Headley, maybe 1850. And it's this basket down here that really caught my eye. And then a chart that a lot of us have seen, the Mary Carr 1840 from Needlework Press. This basket here. So I bought those for the basket.
One thing I was drawn to, and this is an example of one of these, and I hadn't really learned much about these, but they're called Mexican band samplers. So I actually want to learn more about them because I was very drawn to them. So this came from a portion of a Mexican band sampler. And then I got two others. One was also designed by Samplers Remembered, and there was a sample up there.
These were spectacular in person.
It might have been polite of us to take these out of they were so amazing. And then this was a one that was done by Needlework Press, and this had displayed both the antique and her reproduction on that. So it's another Mexican band sampler. So it was kind of fun going around. I'm like, oh, I really like that. And then when I pulled the patterns, they were of a similar theme. So now I want to also learn a little bit more about those Mexican band samplers. I think it was just the bright, bold colors and a lot of geometric and a lot going on, really appealing to me. So those were two patterns I got.
I mean, the patterns are often stored close to the model or the stitched piece on the wall, but not always. And the folks who work there really will help you search and find what you want.
Great.
I have a little bit of this and that, but I might stop.
Then the other thing that I found, I got a few samplers, and again from the models, but I found I had a theme of ones that I liked. So I got maybe 3 or 4 different patterns of the similar, but here's a great example where, maybe an interesting border, and it was sort of this idea of these bands and with a house. So here was one, and this is Jane Plenderleith, 1838, and this is Needlework Press. That was one, and I'll just show you one other. This one is Elizabeth Howell, 1851, and said really cool border, but same idea, interesting border, some bands, and then an interesting house with motifs down there. So I found those seem to be the samplers, and being in the attic, I really wanted to sort of fill in sampler library of things that I want to stitch.
Yeah, I'll show this one last thing. Because this is something some of these we both loved, and so one of us bought it, and we'll just put it in our shared supplies. But again, there's a lot of pink in this one. It's not as obvious on the chart as it was in the model. This is Eliza Brown from the Heart Needle Art.
And again, it's incredible when you see the models. Like, you hear people say that over and over and over again, and you're just like, whoa.
We had a very funny thing happen to us at checkout because we really did, when we got our bag, we started our bags on Friday, and then we looked at our bags on Saturday morning, and like, okay, what do we really want to make sure happens today? And put some things back, get new things, how it goes.
What are we going to kit?
So finally it was time to check out. It was very hard to leave the store, very hard. I had a hard time walking out the door. It was hard. We spent within $10 of each other.
No, it's within 2.
Within 2?
It's within $2 of each other.
That's kind of sisterly of us. Something, I don't know. We had a big laugh over that.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're ever fortunate enough to be in the Phoenix area, go.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
I hope.
And we should also just say, it was just such a great, we just had so much fun traveling together.
Right. And so that's what I want to do thumbs up on. We might just sort of popcorn a little bit. But one of the things just traveling with a sister is always so much fun. And I don't know if it's because you come from the same growing up family or what, but it was so easy to stay in sync about, like, neither of us like to be inside for too long. So like, let's go get some fresh air. Or we got sort of hungry at the same time. And I think we split almost every single meal. You want to split that deli sandwich? You want to split...
But the Attic recommended like a really great brewery, and we went there for dinner. Mm-hmm. After we were shopping, we're like, you want to split a burger? Mm-hmm. Sure. You want to split a flight of beer? Sure.
And just that when you spend that many days together, you can just talk about so many different kinds of things, and just sort of sharing the world with each other. Of the new birds and the new plants, all that kind of stuff is always just so fun. And
we kept going to each other, this trip is amazing.
This trip is amazing.
We're like, it exceeded our high expectations, and we had high expectations.
I think like sometimes, like, I want to say like, I don't know. I felt like we had more than the average special moments.
We did.
It was just one of those, I don't know. I want to say like lucky. I'm having a hard time finding words for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a thumbs up. I go to open my book of days to put in login, and I'm like, there's a sticker. And Anna sends some comment. You got to get some stickers in Carolyn's book of days. And so Anna said, so I just put a sticker in. And I'm like, great, you do that anytime you have any stickers. So I thought we got a good laugh out of that.
So I think you were getting dressed or brushing your teeth or something. I didn't want to read what was in here because I don't really know exactly what she writes in her book of days. I know, but I didn't know that. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm just going to put it in the corner. I'm going to do it really quickly.
And she said that, I'm like, fun. Anna, you can totally read my book of days. There's like no mysteries. It's not like, Anna was a real pain in the ass today at the Frank Lloyd Wright place. So that was funny. That was a thumbs up.
We had some funny times too. I'm going to give a thumbs up to. One was we went for this hike, and then it was Friday. We went for a hike. And we were going to go to the attic for the first time, and I realized was it on Friday or Saturday? Anyway, I forgot to put deodorant on.
It was on Saturday. It was Saturday because Friday we went to Frank. Yeah, so we went for the hike, and then we were going to go to the attic. Pretty much when it opened, we got there a little after 10, so we went for a morning hike.
So I'm like, can we find a Safeway or a CVS?
So Anna's like, I didn't put deodorant on. We're like, we're getting you deodorant before we go to the attic.
We were just laughing. It was fun.
And then even the next day, didn't you go, I think I forgot to put deodorant on again?
I don't know what it was. It was like it wasn't in my usual spot or something.
So thumbs up to just easy access to deodorant, right? That's always good.
And I was getting ice in the ice bucket from our hotel and putting like some seltzers in, putting in the back of the car. We could not believe how hot the car. Carolyn had her phone just sort of tilted. We were using the GPS on her phone, just tilted up on the dashboard. I'm not talking like in the part of the dashboard where you expect sun, just tilted up, facing us.
Yeah.
And it stopped.
Yeah.
It turned itself off.
It turned itself off the display. And we're like, oh darn, we were like halfway where we went, but then you'd hear, we took it down and Anna was trying to cool it off, like put some AC on. And then the phone was like, turn right at the next corner. Like she was still talking to us, but she just couldn't, her display was off. Yeah. So that was kind of funny. I don't know, just
a few funny stories.
Yeah. We're just going to thumbs up being back. And it was like...
And spending time. Even sitting at the airport is fun with Carolyn.
Yeah. We get to the airport. So I'm just going to tell one more funny story.
Sure.
So I've gone through the process. So I have the TSA pre-check where you can go through the different line, and Anna hasn't done it yet. And when we were going out, Anna's like, you just go and just wait for me on the other side. And I'm like, great. So I just went and sat and waited for the other side. And then coming back on Phoenix, I just did the same thing. And I come out and all of a sudden I hear, Carolyn! So
I got through fast.
And I just zipped through the line. I'm guessing as more and more people are getting TSA pre-checks, sometimes like that's slower than the regular line. Not like it was that long. So, all right.
Oh, and we had fabulous leg room in our flight coming back.
So this was a gift for Anna for Christmas that I got the plane tickets for us. And coming back, I'm like, we're going to be coming back. We're tired. I think at the time I booked it, they were like only middle seats left. And to upgrade, it was only like $29 per person to go to the next. I don't know if it was a special or something. And I'm like, yeah, We had so much leg room, and we were sitting in the seat as if we're queens. We're like, oh.
Yeah.
It was just a way to kind of end.
So that's another little example of just like all these little special things
Yeah.
that just added up to incredible. But of course, the highlight was the attic. Yeah. To the Attic Needlework one more time.
To the Attic Needlework. And I just feel so lucky to have met Carolyn and Jean. You hear so much about them, and to now really have met and really...
And to everyone at the attic.
And, oh, of course, everyone at the attic, and just really now, when you watch their videos or whatever, hear stories, you now know them a little bit.
It is clear how much they love our shared, what do we call it, hobby, craft.
Yeah. Okay, we've talked enough about it. So
yeah.
Until next time.
Happy crafting.
Wait,
is that, do we say stay curious and happy crafting?
Happy crafting. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Until next time.
Happy crafting.
Stay curious. Bye, everybody.